Hey everybody, thanks for joining our Footprint Data Drive number 13. Today we're going to be talking about loyalty programs and AI. And I even have a special guest coming on at the end of the presentation here. But with that being said, I have Jay from Polygon here to talk to us about loyalty programs on chain and what exactly they are, and kind of giving us all, and hopefully you guys listening here, a better, deeper understanding of the benefits and what we can expect to see coming in the future here for loyalty programs on chain. With that being said, let me pass the mic over to Jay and hear a quick introduction.
Sure. So, appreciate you having me on. I think that we spoke at the podcast and kind of went into loyalty points before, but would love to kind of give an overview, a little bit about myself. I'm Jay, doing gaming partnerships for Polygon, but kind of moving towards consumer, so anything to do with loyalty, rewards, gaming, entertainment, etc. Um, but yeah, I would love to kind of give a brief overview. I'm sure everyone knows what loyalty programs or rewards are in general. But loyalty program is a marketing tool. It's used to encourage customers, to increase consumption of a service or product, which in turn builds brand loyalty. Um, According to research, Nielsen's research, 84% of customers, are more willing to choose a retailer that runs a loyalty program. And running a loyalty program can even result in 3.5 times more transactions per member of the program. So it's definitely not a new thing, and it's not something that's
You
been
said
around for a really long time.
3.5 times. Yeah, it can incentivize up to 3.5 times the transactions for protocols. Yeah.
According to Forrester research, yes.
Wow,
And
that's
they've been
crazy.
around since 1930, right? So,
hmm
um,
Wow, that's
yeah,
huge for potential protocols, right? The transactions, a lot of people, when they're looking at metrics of protocols, consider transactions really the true demand compared to volume. That is huge, absolutely huge for protocols that really need to get up their transactions and get noticed. Would you agree?
yeah. I mean, it really kind of plays in. I guess loyalty programs in itself is such a broad topic, right? So different protocols and perpetuals exchanges have loyalty programs which incentivize trading activity, and obviously, those have been quite widespread across crypto. But at the same time, traditional brands also implement lots of loyalty programs, right? Which, in both circumstances increases transactions, whichever you're measuring, whether that's trades or, purchases or whatever. So,
And kind of talking about NFTs and stuff on chain. What ways can NFTs redefine coupons and loyalty programs
yeah,
as we know it?
sure. So I guess essentially there's kind of four main problems faced by loyalty program operators currently. So the first is in regards to the fact that because customer acquisition costs are like super up, and ad spend just isn't returning what it used to. And a large part of this is because browser cookies are deprecated. There's iOS policy changes which are increasing the cost of prospecting customers into loyalty programs. And as a result, that's an issue that's facing current businesses who want to advertise, right? So it's hard to advertise and personalize advertisements, and hence it's harder to bring people onto loyalty programs. The second is that research shows that Gen Z, like people our generation, like younger people, aren't actually as engaged in these loyalty programs.
Mm,
It's more like an old person thing. And kind of the other problem is that it just giving away free stuff via loyalty programs often eats into margins, right? Like if I'm giving away discounts and other kind of experiences, it eats into margins, especially if I'm offering it from my business.
right.
So I'm going to get into a little bit how like Web3 solves these problems, but I wanted to kind of allude to like kind of some of the issues currently plaguing loyalty programs.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh.
I guess the last part I could mention is just about partnerships, right? Like if I have a loyalty program right now
hmm
and I want to partner with another brand, like it's super hard to do because my loyalty program is built on a Web2 stack and it might be a different tech stack to their program.
Mm.
Whereas, and I can kind of mention a little bit how about Web3 kind of
Yeah,
addresses all these points.
absolutely. Yeah, can you explain how Web3 touches on all these? Because I think this is where it really gets cool, where the blockchain tech can solve these pre-existing issues and really kind of revolutionize how we look at these things. So yeah, I'd love to hear how Web3 tackles these existing issues.
Yeah, so I guess the first one is probably the most obvious one, where it facilitates cool partnerships. Whereas, like I mentioned in the past, if I wanted to partner with another brand and stack value to their loyalty program. We had to get together, sign a bunch of contracts, and do all sorts of infrastructure work on the back end, which is just very costly, right? But if you use a blockchain like Polygon, it's a shared settlement layer where the tools that I use to build out my loyalty program, that program is ultimately on chain, settled on Polygon, whereas another loyalty program would also be settled on Polygon. So in that way, I can give an example. If I open up a luggage company and I want to offer a 20% discount, like token gated to, let's say an airline company launches a, NFT membership program, right?
Right.
I can offer that 20% discount token gated to holders of that airline's membership program without needing to actually manually speak to the airline because,
Oh,
NFTs are on chain.
smooth.
I
Nice.
can, and it works across like, Reddit. Like there's 7 million people that hold like Reddit NFTs, right? And like if you're a brand and you want to, provide value to that community, you offer discounts to anyone that holds a Reddit Snooze NFT. It's token gated. You don't need to speak to Reddit, and you still can tap into that community and provide value. Whereas they're going to share your brand on social media, and it's just more personalized marketing, which we need to do, right? Because like Web 2 kind of tracking is going away.
Yeah, and I totally understand where you're coming from. Well, at Footprint, we're working at getting marketing, more personalized, a little bit deeper with, our Footprint Growth Analytics or Web3 CRM. So it makes, I could completely understand how important it is marketing, especially at Web3. It seems that marketing has took a completely different direction than what we're used to traditionally. So it's nice to see a bit more. I guess how do I say this? A bit more science coming into the marketing. I feel like we've built a community for way too long, and there's a lot better avenues that we can use, especially harnessing the data to really improve retention and you know what I'm saying. So I also
Yeah.
kind of wanted to switch over to Jay about big institutions, right? We saw, Starbucks is a great example of big institution that's kind of making the jump into Web3, especially with their loyalty programs. But how big is this switch for institutions for loyalty programs on chain? And do
Mhm.
existing regulations really provide enough clarity for these big institutions to make this jump?
Yeah, so obviously, don't want to comment too much on, specifics of, what's going on, in the news right now. But I'd say that loyalty programs in itself are an example of, what crypto needs, right? Like a real use case, which isn't purely financialized. Because, a token gated loyalty membership can not just unlock financial experiences, but also more like, physical ones, right? Like you might get access to a special event. Let's say that I have a tokenized season pass. Like if this is an NFT, like I might be able to use some sort of NFT rental protocol and rent out my season pass or all sorts of cool things that you could do, which I think don't involve like, tokens and don't get into like the whole securities um kind of area.
Yeah,
So I
it's
think that's
definitely
the first
nice to
approach.
avoid that area for sure, especially right now. I'm sure all you guys have been watching the news. Definitely want nothing to do with security
No,
at this
no, definitely.
point in time.
And
So,
Poly-
oh, sorry, go ahead, Jay.
no, yeah, I was gonna say I definitely agree.
Yeah, and you know, what about kind of? I also want to touch a little bit on security, right? I've never heard much of these apps like the 7-Eleven members reward app or anything. I've never heard of the about them getting compromised, right? But there is still our information on there, and the risk always, is prevalent,
Yeah,
especially with my banking information. So how much
yeah,
more secure is moving these loyalty programs on chain in comparison to how they're set up right now? Would you say they're more secure,
yeah.
or is it better? It's just a more secure tech.
Mhm. I mean, I definitely, so an interesting thing, like what needs to be done before like this loyalty stuff gets huge, because there's lots of brands out there working on activations, but the current wallet ecosystem, I feel, it just, isn't kind of up to par in a way
Mm.
where, like, if I have like hundreds of different companies, like, am I really gonna store these loyalty points on MetaMask or any existing solution where it's like tailored towards financial assets? I think that's the first issue. I think the second one is, um, I agree with you that a lot of people say like, why can't you just use a centralized database, right? Like, a QR code into a centralized database, but I think that what the blockchain lets you do is capture like a lot of valuable on-chain info in a private like way through zero knowledge proofs, right? Because if you use like zero knowledge proofs, for example, you can prove the validity of a certain statement. For example, this customer is is what he says he is, right? Has this certain metrics, has done this, is within the certain age range where that they can issue this reward without actually getting this info from them directly, which protects customer privacy, especially if you have loyalty programs across different chains and ecosystems, leveraging zero knowledge proofs to protect their data. I think, just another great example of how we can use the blockchain.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's really, I think, it's really, as we go forward more and more, and as blockchain technology develops more and more, it's really amazing seeing the use cases that can come or sprout up out of nowhere, or not out of nowhere, but seemingly stuff that wasn't even thinkable before, was it just pops up, which is great. And talking a little bit about more on the loyalty programs, like, do you think a good solution for the tech wise, you're saying about how, the wallet systems aren't up to snuff. Do you think that it's a good idea then for the infrastructure protocols or who's ever building the infra for these loyalty programs, should they include a custodial wallet?
Um, I mean, I think that there's lots of solutions being explored in that space. Like it's quite early to see. I think account abstraction opens up new opportunities, lots of developments in that space. And new NFT standards, can open up new creative ways to build out these loyalty programs and make them interoperable. Um, but I'd say that that is a good first step. Adding on to that point, a lot of people ask like, do we really need to move this on chain? Trust and transparency, we touched upon that. I think composability is a point I kind of touched upon, but it's quite important. It's like when you're creating a Web3 based loyalty program as a brand, you don't need to, build this stuff from scratch, right? Like a lot of tools have been already built out by developers. It's composable, open source, highly customizable at the same time, like these experiences that you can build out. And it's just more efficient for brands to build out loyalty programs and gamify them too, compared to Web2, where you have to build it all from scratch. And even if you built it out, it's no ecosystem for you to tap into. Whereas in Web3, if I'm a small startup Shopify store, I build out this cool loyalty program. I integrate with huge brands off the go, integrate with like cool Web3 games, Web3 NFT collections, etc. So it's like this cool ecosystem that can be, kind of hashed out.
Exactly, and I'm just like, I'm steaming here actually. I'm thinking about this question and it's got me going. And is right now, um, I guess you could pick from either, what you're seeing right now is a great example that could be adopted into Web3, or actually institutions that are really kind of making the jump and kind of providing the baseline standard of what we should expect for these loyalty programs. Is right now, have you seen any, institutions bringing loyalty programs on chain that have really done it right so far?
So I mean, definitely don't want to delve too much into specifics, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still quite early. I think that the current issue with a lot of the loyalty programs is the same issue that I touched upon earlier. It's like you can build out the loyalty program, but fundamentally there needs to be demand for the utility that that program offers, right?
Right.
Like the bigger that this ecosystem gets built out, the more it's gonna make sense, right? Like the more that's stacked on top of, for example, Reddit NFTs, the more that is ends up getting valuable. So I think that's the cool thing with this is that all the marketing dollars that used to go to Facebook, like if it's more targeted now towards like these kind of initiatives, the value gets directly handed back to the consumer. So I think that's quite cool too. And but
Uh,
yeah, I think the institution wise, there are a lot that I don't want to mention in the works that are building, which are really cool.
mhm.
But yeah,
I
I think
got
that
you.
we need to.
So just keep my ear to the ground, man, and pay attention. And we're gonna have some things popping up really soon. Great. Also, Mir is here. He's our special guest today. You guys, I wanted to say hi, give an intro because believe it or not, we have an AI researcher in the building. That is sick. Let's go. Perfect for our topic of AI, which is going to come up here. So, Mir, do you mind just doing a quick intro about yourself, what you're working on, what you're doing, and then we'll hop right in.
Sure. Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me on the call. My name is Mir. My real name is Miguel, and I'm an AI researcher at Intel Corp. But previously, I was a blockchain engineer in Singapore, working on DeFi regulation infra, and just glad to see and work in the space where we can see those two fields intertwine. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. I'm happy to have you here. You know, anybody that gets a recommendation from Jay's got to be a big fish. So I'm real happy that we have you here. Now, I gotta ask, since you've worked in, DeFi regulation infra, right, in Singapore, right, and now we're doing AI at Intel. Are you really what are you super excited about the push that we've seen for blockchain adopting AI? And what are you most excited about to see in the future to come that it's going to come from this?
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely super excited to see AI and blockchain interact. Like, I know they're both key hot words, and it's easy to kind of imagine they would come together. But there's really truly value in AI being put on the blockchain. Some of the use cases we could see are biometrics, for example, like Face ID or fingerprints actually being done on chain and verified. Um, and just the suite of applications that are moving from Web 2 to Web 3 that can actually interact with the vast amounts of data that's on blockchain. Um, I think one of the really interesting things that blockchain allows is just data that's stored from kind of all valleys of software and web, right? Like, let's say you as a user have an account and you play video games and you interact with different applications and social media and you have a shopping history. The fact that all of that information can kind of interact and be used to create intelligent information is really exciting. So I'm super excited for the future.
Now, uh, have you ever heard of the chain IOTEX before, Mir?
IoTeX, no. What is that?
It's the Internet of Things, right? Essentially, it brings, standard tech, like say your fridge, for example. It brings it on chain, or IoTeX released security camera, for example, on chain, and actually won awards because it is completely like it's impossible to get compromised. It's impossible to hack the thing, which is kind of cool. Now, with AI and the Internet of Things, what do you really see? You mentioned biometrics. What are some other cool use cases that we could see with regular everyday tech starting to adopt AI and the blockchain?
Sure. So I think one of the key values of blockchain is verification and being able to verify that things are valid. Now, there's kind of this paradigm alongside of IoT or Internet of Things. It's called ambient technology, and it's the idea that information from different data sources can interact and be intelligent. And we may even see this in regular everyday life. Think about like in the future where we have cameras on cars and cameras on traffic lights and cameras on buildings and information of all of them can interact to create some sort of an intelligent autonomous world. I think that in both the real world and the web, just the interaction of data that's actually verified can have some pretty cool things. So I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Sweet. I 100% agree. Now I kind of want to transition a little bit. And Jay, anytime that you want to talk or hop in, feel free. But I'm talking a little bit about AI, and just AI in general. What are some things that people aren't really talking about benefit-wise, and ways that AI can really improve our everyday life more than just helping us improve our jobs when we need things written. Uh, and also, also curious as well in the same vein, also the, kind of the scary things that can come around with AI that people aren't really talking about either. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, can you hear me by the way?
I can hear you,
Switch my Wi-Fi.
Jay. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so definitely don't know as much about AI as Miguel, but kind of my view on it is like I think in terms of money that AI can control, or I kind of saw a thread about this actually. It's like blockchain-based currencies or financial systems are like the only financial systems that can be autonomously controlled by AI without like centralized human intervention. So in that kind of way, I feel I don't want to be too dystopian, but if you're what WorldCoin is building or what other verifiers are building, if you can put identity on chain, you can also put financial systems on chain. Then the way they interact through smart contracts could be interesting, right, in a decentralized way. because previously you needed centralized parties because the identity part was not figured out. Like you need people to verify identity and manage this data. But if we can get ZK verifiers and build that network out, I feel that's feasible. But yeah, I would love to see what Miguel thinks about it.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Just to jump on that point, I really like the idea of kind of these blockchain assets and these digital assets that are stored on chain are one of the few types of currencies that are fully able to be managed and yeah, just managed by AI. If we start thinking about maybe smart contracts as individual autonomous agents that can do things like automated trading strategies or automated finance management, I think that unlocks a pretty cool suite of products in the future. And I mean, just outside of finance too, right? Like in combination with blockchain, we might see a new wave of entertainment and services or adaptations in gaming that leverage both AI and blockchain. So I think it's all pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's super sweet. And touching on to the first question there, what are some of the benefits for the everyday person that AI can bring that hasn't really been talked about too much?
Some benefits. I mean, just in general, I think, and I encourage everyone here to become a lot more well versed and familiar with a lot of the AI tools that are coming out. Um, but just in general, AI is going to make life a lot easier in several different ways. I think the first one is just leveraging AI, maybe in your job, right? Like as an AI engineer and just as a software engineer in general, I see myself using AI to write code for me and do analysis of data.
Hmm.
And obviously you have to validate that, but I'm seeing it personally would take what would previously take like 10 hours to do in 9 hours. So
Amazing.
um,
We love that.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So intelligently using it in your job, I'd encourage everyone to do it. But that's just one of the many ways that we're going to see AI take over, or not take over, I should say, but AI be pretty prominent in our lives.
And two, what are like some of the things that maybe we should be more cautious about going forward with AI stuff that I was thinking about how we can start implementing new AI security for our products, right, or for our websites or whatever, right? Are we going to start seeing then AI hacks or stuff? I'm also curious about what do you think about where should we draw the line of the data that we feed AI, right? What kind is there a line that we should draw? Like what kind of data should be kept away from AI? Just kind of I don't know if that makes sense. I hope it does. Just stuff I was rattling around in my head.
Sure. Yeah. So there's that, like, I guess this idea and this conversation of AI ethics is huge, and it's something that not many people solve. I'll zoom into one area that's particularly interesting. It's, I guess, in this advent of language models, right? And ChatGPT is one of them, where we feed it language and get language back. This has massive implications for stuff we're already seeing. And I guess one of them is like we're starting to see these language models come in the form of chatbots or just accounts online. And one of the issues is that we can't really verify if content is produced by a human or an AI, or if you're talking to a human or AI. And this is allowing things like fraud and scams and all sorts of things to kind of come up and pose issues to people. And I think that's why it's really interesting to think about the intersection of blockchain and AI, because blockchain is one of, honestly, to me, like one of the only solutions that can kind of address these issues that AI is posing. For example, I think Jay mentioned WorldCoin earlier. And for those who are not aware of what WorldCoin is, it's this project that aims to achieve proof of personhood. So people on chain can prove that they're actually a person and not an AI. And this is going to become really important moving forward, because not only are we going to have to prove that we are a person, but this is going to allow us to prove that we actually created something, or that our credentials are verified. For example, I have a degree, or I actually worked at this company. So just the combination of AI and blockchain to actually address some of these issues and verify is really good.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that, right? We're going about to all this decentralization, and then with AI, we got to go back to centralization to verify. I mean, so that's why I'm very bullish on zero knowledge technology that's coming out. Jay, I saw you unmuted for a sec. Go ahead.
No, it was an accident. Sorry.
Oh, well, don't let it happen again. Just kidding. um, cool. So Muir, was there anything else too that you wanted to do, like, based on your research and, working at Intel, was there any, like, maybe kind of statements or something that you think is really important for the average person to know going forward, and especially with working with AI? And truthfully, I can't agree more when you said that everyone should go and mess around with these products that they have available, especially the AI ones. I think it's super valuable, and I almost think it's an essential skill to have going forward when we're looking at the future of jobs.
Sure. So my background specifically is I work on big data AI. So in the department I am at Intel, I work on these data pipelines and these flows that collect data from millions of devices. And then in turn, we do both manual and automated analytics of these. Think about like terabytes and terabytes of data from
Holy.
millions of computers. Yeah, so this is a really interesting part. I'd say there's always the conversation of security and privacy, and those are something that both Intel and just everyone is working really hard to kind of both understand and protect everyone from, because we don't really understand the implications and dangers of AI. Um, if I'm to give advice, my true advice is I just would encourage everyone to become literate in AI and using AI as a tool to superpower their work. I think that just moving forward, AI is going to become a really big part of our lives, and if you're able to use AI to supercharge your work or even build on AI, that's I think that could set you really far forward.
All right, I have one more question before we wrap it up, you guys. And oh, also I should say, if you have any questions about what we're talking about today, or you want to have any comments, go into the community sharing channel, go into the chat section and lay it down. Love to hear what you guys think. And now, my last question is regarding regulations for AI. Traditionally speaking, regulations are relatively slow, especially around new technology. I mean, today or this week, for example, is a great way of showing just how far behind regulations are in crypto. Um, and we all saw it in the news. But regarding AI, what's your thoughts on accelerating regulations to make sure that someone doesn't go too far in one sort of aspect of AI, or what do you think needs to be put in place regulation wise that just isn't there yet?
Sure. It's honestly really hard to give a solution, and I don't want to make any big claims. I'll first speak to some of the challenges. We're starting to move towards this economy where everything is developing open source, right? So these
Right.
AI models, they're trained on like the entire corpus of the internet, and they're public. There's many of them that are public, and people can use them for any means and fine tune them to achieve pretty much like any task that they want. Um, and that's kind of one of the really big challenges is the fact that these models are open source and anyone can play with them and do beneficial or malicious things with them. Um, I don't really know about what the avenues are for regulating that. It's not like we can just stop or prevent people from kind of creating these models or doing malicious harm. I think that there's so yes, I would encourage that there is more regulation, and I guess just also more literacy about what AI can do, because the dangers of AI are not going to be super obvious, and and they won't be super apparent. Some of the wide dangers that I'm seeing today are like scams and fraud. Um, like for example, there's this hack, I don't know if, or I guess scam. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it, but there's these people who have automated the flow for just scraping data on people and then copying their voices and calling their loved ones. And
mm,
like it's a really scary hack. It's actually like people are getting calls with an AI voice that's pretending to be like their daughter screaming for help, which
that
is really
that
scary.
is that is
Um,
terrifying. I saw that one
exactly,
in the
yeah,
news. Yeah, that is absolutely
yeah.
terrifying.
Right. So I think some of these issues can be combated with blockchain, the ones with regarding to scam, hacks, verification. Other ones with regard to malicious intent, I think that's more a conversation for the government.
Mhm.
If
Mhm.
someone creates an AI and makes 1,000 drones that start unleashing harms that would I don't really know what the steps are to stop that. So I don't know. We have a pretty interesting future ahead.
We definitely do, and you're talking about what's possible with AI too. Like even with ChatGPT, you can copy something that you've written and get ChatGPT to rewrite it in the same style as your current writing, which I think is absolutely bonkers. That is nuts. That just blows my
Yeah, and
mind.
there's actually a lot of applications that do voice matching now. So some of the cool ones are like you could take a song and have a different artist sing the song. Like Fly Me to Moon sing by Obama. That one's pretty cool. So there's both cool things but also super malicious ones.
Yeah, I've
And
seen that guy on Instagram. He's using Drake and making his own songs, but using Drake and AI Drake and AI Rick Ross to sing these songs. And Drake is getting pissed. I I don't know if you guys saw this, but Drake is not happy with AI replicating his voice.
yeah, but on the conversation of regulation, like what can you do, right? It's like you can't force everyone to stop creating those. So that's where the real challenge is.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
I guess, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that I think we have to. It's not a good look that we don't accelerate, I guess, blockchain-based innovations at the same time as we, accelerate AI innovations to keep up. I think that
Exactly.
definitely something we should focus on. I mean, you guys should check out some interesting projects within the intersection. Modulus Labs, DKML, based kind of out of Stanford Accelerator. But yeah, definitely innovation going on in that space to combat like all the problems that you were talking about, right? Like, the stuff that Drake is unhappy about.
Yeah, Jay, with I guess on this conversation, the fact that blockchain is poised to solve some of these problems, WorldCoin, proof of personhood, why well, I guess why aren't we seeing blockchain as or why aren't we seeing more people move to the blockchain? Is it the user experience? Is it the fact that it's just hard to move there? Is it because there's a lot of scams? What do you
I think
think?
it's a user experience. That's just my personal opinion. I think it takes way too long right now to set things up, especially with regarding the stigma that is crypto and blockchain. People are very hesitant, especially if it'll take you 10 minutes to do something you're already hesitant about. It gives me a lot of time to second guess.
There's no good solutions, right? Like if you actually think about it, like where is there actually a good solution out there, like managing all your loyalty programs, your collectibles, like the benefits that you get for like holding a Reddit and like, it's not MetaMask, I'll
Right.
tell you.
Yeah, it makes me think about just on Web 2 how we have all these disparate, accounts, right? Like I have an account for Facebook, I have an account for LinkedIn, I have an account for Instagram. And how do I manage all of those? How do I log in? How do
Yeah,
I share data between all of them?
there's a couple of accounts or a couple apps that I have that if I get signed out, I'm screwed. I'll never be able to
So,
sign back in.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know how long
no, go
I
ahead,
enjoyed the
Jay.
convo.
Yeah,
I was gonna
no,
say like, I don't but definitely enjoyed the convo and
yeah, I'm kind of wrapping her up. Normally, I like to take it about 30 minutes. We're at the 33-minute mark, which is great. If there's great conversation, I don't want it to stop. But I feel like there's great natural point for me to wrap it up here. But before we wrap it up, Jay, is that a skyline in your profile picture?
no, it's just two cars.
Just two cars? I could have sworn that was a skyline. I was about to get all fangirly. Anyways, with that being said, everybody, thanks for joining our data drive today. It was really great, interesting conversation. Talking about loyalty programs and transitioning into AI. It's also the first time we've had two guests on our data drive, and truthfully, I like it. I think we should do more of this. Especially curious on what you guys think. So, with that being said, if you guys haven't checked out Footprint or you haven't checked out what Jay's working on or Mir, go ahead, go send him a DM or anything like that. Follow their socials, whatever you want to do. We'll get it all set up. But with that being said, Footprint, your one-stop shop for everything blockchain. I'm going to pass it to Jay and then Mir for some final thoughts, and we're wrapping it up.
Yeah, appreciated you, having me on the podcast, and yeah, definitely follow me on Twitter. You can post a lot of updates about the stuff that we're talking about, and yeah, we'll hope to chat soon.
Yeah, and feel
yeah,
free
thanks for
to
having us.
yeah, feel free to throw your socials in the community sharing channel there. I'd be happy to get his, more followers. That's about it. And Mir, thanks for coming on, man. It was awesome. I loved having you as a guest. Was there anything else that you wanted to say before I wrap it up?
No, but I look forward to seeing and learning more about what Footprint Analytic does, and thanks for having us.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, maybe I'll get Jay to set up a intro on Telegram there. But that being said, you guys, that's it for our data drive. Thanks again for joining, and we'll catch you next week. Bye for now.